Siraj?
Yes, we are ready. We are ready.
Thank
We
you.
live on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, thanks for your indulgence. And we are going to continue with the meeting. And I just want to find out the members, just a quick run for the purpose of for the record purpose. If I can find out, because we are virtual now, and see if all the members are here for the quorum. Can I get an indication from the members?
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Gillian Bosman, I'm here.
Thank you. We don't have another member of which we are not a quorum. Wasima, can you try and find out if member Plato and member Leger are available?
I'm dialing them in, Chairperson.
Thank you.
I think someone said member Syed is on his way to connect.
Member Syed is online.
Thank you very much. We will just, my apologies. Colleagues, if you can just indulge me with just a minute or two.
Chair, your quorum, Mr. Syed, yourself, and member Gillian is online, so that you have your quorum, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members, if you can indicate for record purposes. Member Syed, are you online? Member Plato, are you online?
Thank you, Chair. I'm online.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we are a quorum. Let's continue. Members, we are going to continue with the agenda as it appears on paper. So with the question before we suspended the meeting, we do have the WCPP rules, Rule 188, that is empowering us to continue, and also the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, the section 115 empowers us to also interrogate the budget vote 52. So if I can repeat again that the agenda for today is the deliberation of vote 2 Western Cape Provincial Parliament in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B3 of 2022. I am now going to, for the remarks, to allow the Deputy Speaker.
Chair, good afternoon. I am not going to have any remarks. I think for the interest of time, I would like you to proceed.
Thank you very much. The Secretary is online.
Yes, Chairperson. Good afternoon again, Chairperson.
Good afternoon. I just want to find out, because you gave us a very beautiful infographic. Do you want to talk to it before we take the questions from the members for deliberations?
Chairperson, I'm going to ask the CFO maybe just to quickly take us through that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll just share my screen so we're speaking to the same slide. So just in general, we've had an amount of 12.2 million that was an underspending in the previous financial year, and an amount of 350,000, which was an overcollection of revenue. And that we have rolled over in terms of FAMPLA, 10.6 million of that in the current financial year, 22-23, which will speak to the adjustments estimate, and then 1.8 million of it into the year 23-24, which we'll see when we table our budget again, and 140,000 into 24-25, which we'd also see when we table our budget again. So then just to summarize that, Our main appropriation at the beginning of this financial year was 176.5 million. We've then brought in rollovers of 10.3 and the revenue retention of 350,000, leaving us with an adjusted budget of 187,175,000. The statutory appropriations, which is the direct charge, was not affected in the adjustments estimate. And then moving on, this is just at program and economic classification level. The detail is all in the blue book. In terms of program 1, we had an amount of 5.1 million coming in there. Quite a bit of it was for committed projects, which were projects that we had commenced in the previous financial year of 21-22, but we weren't able to complete it, so we weren't necessarily able to pay in full for those projects. And those were mainly made up of quite a bit of training that the institution undertook, as well as the Sage 300 project, and then a mobile sound and PA system that we acquired, as well as our laptop refreshments. And then over and above the committed project, we've provided for recruitment of interns, some supplementary budget for the official visit to the UK, some expenditure in terms of a CCMA matter, which obviously we didn't budget for, cybersecurity, and then ERP, which is our enterprise resource planning system or our financial system, some aspects in terms of that. In terms of program 2, parliamentary support services, that was supplemented with 1.8 million for supplementing the standing committee's budget. And then public engagement, program 3. Again, we had some committed projects there that were commenced in the previous financial year, but were not taken to conclusion. And those included the corporate video, social media advertising, graphic designer, our secretary's report, and a display stand. And then we also provided for the Tetanati program and the WCPP's digital online platform. Program 2 had an amount of 110,000 coming into it, and that was for members' attendance at official WCPP events. Just in terms of the revenue retention, which I mentioned earlier, that 350,000 went into program 1. And again, there it was ERP additions, which is our financial system. And then as well as looking at upgrading assessments for the chamber and committee rooms for the WCPP. Moving along, this is just taking everything I said previously narratively and putting it in a table showing how the rollovers came into each of the different programs. It's the top table. And then the bottom table is essentially how it affected the economic classification. So compensation of employees, goods and services, transfers and subsidies, and payments for capital assets. We did have some shifts within the programs, and those were just to sort of, based on the expenditure that we've had up until now, cover where it was necessary and where we had some surplus, moving that where it was needed. That's the end of the presentation. The detail will all be in the book. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, CFO. I am now going to open up for the questions or clarity from the members. I see Member Bosman and
Thank you,
Member
Chairperson.
Bosman, over
Can I
to
go
you.
ahead?
Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you,
please
Chairperson,
do.
and I can now finally say good afternoon to you. Chair, I just wanted to ask, in terms of page 23 in the blue book, the language used with the CCMA matter, the 402,000 Rand, the last sentence there says it's a matter related to an employee who left the establishment. If the employee left the establishment, Why was it a CCMA matter? I'm just not sure about that. If the person just left, maybe that the language is slightly vague there, if we can get some more detail around that. And then, Chairperson, I wanted to ask whether the official visit to the United Kingdom, is it a new visit or the visit that was already concluded? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Member Lecker?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, a quick one, which I would want to pose, Chairperson, is around table 2.1 on the payments and estimates per program and economic classification under governance and administration. That's a point of reference, Chair. I think it is unbelievable that for the longest period we have been consistent as the ANC in complaining about the amount of funds received by this program. But also even so, we see that there's a 10 million in the budget of WCPP. More than half of that increase goes again to the same program. Notwithstanding that ICT is covered in this program, but as with most budgets, the devil is lost in the detail. Can we be told exactly what in program 1 this increase in budget by 5 million is intended for? Followed by question on compensation of employee, where there's a decrease of 4.38 million. I think, again, the ANC is concerned about this COE that is consistently either cut or returned to the provincial treasury. In page 23, we also read in sub-program 1.1, which is the Office of the Speaker alone, 154,000 is shifted. Why? Because of underspending. And this is due to a vacant position that is not filled. Why are these vacancies not being filled? Why is the priority not given to this vacant post while we acknowledge that there's a 4.38 million of COE that is not due to vacancy? We want to know why this money is not being spent on the overstretched staff of WCPP. I mean, we all know since the 5th administration, staff members were overstretched, and it continues even under this administration. Could this be the idea of the Democratic Alliance, to limit job opportunities and doing it in the exact institution where people must be held accountable in Parliament? I mean, it's ridiculous. Can I just get answers on those ones? I still have questions on other pages, but I think most importantly, I must start there because it is really unbelievable. At this point of time, we are still going on and on about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Secretary?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the questions, Chairperson. Maybe just a matter of the CCMA, Ms. Prakasim, the HR manager, will respond to that, and then the response to the other question of Member Bosman. It is not a new UK visit, it's the UK visit that had already taken place, Honourable Bosman. With regards to the questions by Honourable Lecker, the CFO will give an indication of the exact amounts going to each of the sub-programs within table 2.1 under governance and administration. And then maybe just a question on the filling of vacancies. So vacancies occur, or before I get there, the administration has been following a concerted approach to fill all of the vacancies. Some of those vacancies then necessitate an internal movement of staff into higher level positions that then creates a vacancy lower down in the institution where a recruitment process then needs to start all over again. Other vacancies are where people retire, people exit the organizations because of other reasons then too. new job or better job opportunities elsewhere, etc., etc., and that then also creates vacancies. As soon as somebody leaves the institution, the very next day, we then start generating a underspend on compensation of employees until the vacancy is then filled. Chairperson, if you would then allow me maybe just then to ask Ms. Prakasim to deal with the CCMA matter and the CFO then with the budget allocations as per Honourable Lekker's questions. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. You can continue, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, and thank you very much. In response to the question by Member Bosman, so the CCMA matter relates to a termination of a contract within the Office of the Speaker. The background to the termination relates to an organizational refinement exercise, or rather a work study analysis that was conducted there. Out of that work study analysis, it was found that there were various roles where there were duplication and overlap in responsibilities, and this resulted in in various positions needing to be re-engineered, and out of that process, a contract of employment had to be terminated. As is the right of the individual, they referred the matter to the CCMA, and on advice from the Commissioner during a conciliation process, an agreement was reached with the employee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. If I may go ahead.
Yes, you may go on, CFO.
Thank you. Just in terms of table 2.1, specifically the amount of 5.1 million, if we refer to page 23 in the Blue Book, the first paragraph speaks directly to that. I'll just give a little bit more detail. So 5.1 was brought into program 1. Of that, 3.1 million was in terms of committed projects, which I spoke briefly about earlier, and they mainly included training projects, and to name a few of it, we had leadership training, recruitment and selection training, job evaluation training, skills development facilitated training, CPIT training, and HR skills training. Then we also supplemented a little bit in terms of Sage 300, the project of moving our current HR module over to Sage 300. Also, we had contracted for a mobile sound and PA system. And then we'd also committed to buying some laptops in the previous financial year, which could only be delivered in this financial year. So we only ended up paying for it in this financial year. Then we also had 197,000 rand for the recruitment of interns within the WCPP. We've spoken to the UK visit, which we supplemented with 176,000. 402,000 was in terms of the CCMA case just discussed, and then 960,000 in terms of cybersecurity, and 243,000 in terms of enterprise resource planning, which was system additions in terms of our financial management system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to find out, I think from myself, because I looked at and Member Bosman already asked this question. I looked at the infographic that you sent about the CCMA case. Did any organizational restructuring happen that the organogram has changed now for the institution to terminate that employment? And if it did cost us about 200,000, did we employ another person to do part of their job? And if you take a decision based on what you implemented and the cost implication with the person that came in, did you, in the long term, are you going to save money, or is it going to be more than you anticipated that we will have to look at that again? And what motivated, what was it that you were fixing with that decision that you saw as WCPP that something was not working? Because I tend to believe that employee didn't stay with us for quite a long time. What were the reasons for that termination? Maybe if you can empower us with that organizational restructuring for us to make sure that we are in the same understanding with you for future reference, I think. Thank you from me, and I see Member Lecker.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have a follow-up question. I would like to know the exact amount that was paid to the staff member, and who is the staff member at question that we're talking about. But also, Chair, can we get a detail as to what exactly is this re-engineered position we are talking about? What informed the re-engineering of a position? Are we talking about a position that is within the organogram of this specific department, or it is something that was created? Because I find it difficult that you have an employee and in the middle of a contractual term, the position is being re-engineered. What informs this thing? It sounds very ridiculous, Chair. Can we get some detail? Because as it is now, it's just plain information that has no bones, no meat in it. Can we get some specific? Number two, Chair, particularly on the issue of non-filling of vacancy. I find it problematic, for the lack of a better word, that as and when you are sitting in interviews, you agree that a particular candidate is suitable for a position, but there's no system. The secretary responded that immediately a day after we need to process a recruitment process to start over. It sounds good listening to it, but you can't really have so much money that is not being spent, but you say you have a system. Is it a working system, or what really is happening to the system that you would immediately kick in and start on a recruitment process, but yet again, the vacancies are not being filled? What is it exactly that we are dealing with? Because I think for me, it sounds more of a situation where you find an elephant in the room, but that elephant is not being confronted on the issues that we are discussing here. Whilst you don't advertise positions, you don't worry because there's going to be money that is being saved and being taken back to treasury. What exactly are we dealing with? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other hand up. I think maybe if I can just also request that we get the total of the to cover that expenditure of the official visit to the United Kingdom. If we have to adjust now to cover that cost, what money did you use to cover the cost initially when it happened at that point in time? And that money that you used was intended to be used for what? I think that it will be all that I do have, member. They've covered me. Thank you very much. Over to you, Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. Maybe just your last question first. I'm going to ask the CFO maybe just to explain process in terms of funding, etc., etc. Chairperson, Honorable Lecker, I think I had asked questions about the re-engineering of the office. So the re-engineering of the office was preceded by an organizational development exercise. The exercise had looked at what are the functions that is anticipated to be performed in the specific office. In this case, it was the office of the Speaker. The Presiding Officer's Manual 2021 provides for up to a maximum of 8 posts that can be provided for in the office of the Speaker. It does not specify which post specifically. Now, in order to determine which post and which functions each of the posts are going to be performing, an organizational and OD exercise is then embarked upon. That OD exercise had then gone through a process of consultation with the Office of the Speaker in terms of what are the functions that needs to be performed. It had then gone further to then determine what are, or to recommend what are the positions that are required for each of those duties that needs to be performed, including the combination of duties into one specific post. The exercise then also looks at where are there overlaps, how can those overlaps be prevented, and when I say overlaps in duties and duplication of duties. The OD exercise had then resulted in a number of posts, as 7 and not 8 posts being recommended for the Office of the Speaker, with the assignment of each of those duties. It had then gone further to look at what are the job descriptions of each of those 7 posts in the Office of the Speaker, what are the reporting lines, and also gone a step further to determine for posts, new posts that have not been graded previously, what would be the grades of each of those posts. Based on that exercise, then there was then an assessment of what are the new posts, what are the re-engineered posts, what are the existing posts, who are the incumbents in the existing posts, do they still meet the requirements as per the post, because the job description had also gone further to look at what are the academic requirements and what are the experience requirements for each of those posts. Okay, that had then led to a matching and placing into some of those posts in areas where individuals were not found to be meeting the requirements of the post and not being found to be suitably experienced for the post itself. That had then had an impact on the individuals concerned. Chairperson, I don't know if Ms. Prakasim would want to add anything further. And then also maybe then just look at I think the CFO might be able to give us an indication. You had asked the chairperson about the expenditure for the UK trip, and then maybe just like I've indicated, ask the CFO maybe just to give us a bit of a process in terms of the adjustment estimates, the rollover funding, etc., etc. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Prakasim.
Thank you, Chairperson. So I'm largely covered by the remarks of the Secretary. Suffice to add in direct response to a question around whether that position that the employee vacated has been filled. No, it hasn't, because as articulated by the Secretary, it was the exercise found that the position was not one that would be required going forward. So that is a position that's not filled. Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just in terms of the process that we follow within the WCPP, because our funds are rolled over to ourselves by the Speaker, we maintain a list of the projects. So when we're getting closer to the end of the financial year, we would see that we have committed certain projects, and that is what I spoke to in terms of the projects that were committed but we hadn't spent yet. But then we would also have the underspending, and as we are contracting and finalizing plans and things, if things weren't completely covered within the new budget, then we would prioritize the underspending to what that would go towards. So we didn't take anything away from elsewhere in this financial year to supplement the travel expenditure. It came from our underspending of last year, and as the year progressed and the quotes and that were received and the amount was finalized, we then set aside an amount for that from the rollover. In terms of the total amount for the official visit, we can provide that to the committee after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just quick one, CFO, what was the total amount of CCMA? Was it just 200 or was more than the 200K?
On page 23, the first paragraph, the 402,000 is within the book.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Lecker?
No, thank you, Chair. So we are talking of 402,000 in total.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I think this is a huge amount to pay because of failure to plan. And Parliament had to pay the tax or use taxpayers' money because of management that did not plan properly. It is something that the ANC really finds it disgusting, for a lack of a better word. And as I said initially, it is unbelievable. But be that as it may, I will have to accept it. But I want to place on record that it is too much money. This money could have been used to compensate employees, even if it's via on performance appraisals. But let me move, Chair, to page 51. Page 51, table 2.1 on non-profit institutions. And one of the systemic challenges that we have observed is that the provincial legislature, as a structure or as an institution, the ANC is unable to pose written questions to the speaker, no matter who the speaker is. For an example, this makes us to write written questions to other people. But I would really want to know, in terms of the non-profit institutions, who are these non-profit institutions that this legislature budgets 51 million for? In the absence of being unable to put this in a written question, how can we get answers in this meeting? I think it will be
Sorry,
important.
member, you said remember, like, I'm sorry to interject. You said you are in page what?
I said page 51, table 2.1 on payments and estimates per program and per economic classifications.
Page 51. Okay.
Yes. The main appropriation was 51,776,000. No, my apologies, man. It's page 23.
I'm looking, I'm trying to find, because vote
It's
2,
page
I know for
23.
sure that it's up to
It's
page
page
36. So
23,
I'm
Chair.
trying to see online because usually the page is online and
My apologies. Page 23.
Okay.
Where it
Page
says
20.
main appropriation 51.776 million.
Oh,
Are you with me?
Thank you. Now I'm with you.
Thank you. And then page 24 and 25, the shifting of funds within programs. Funds have been shifted from the one program to the other, or sub-programs, to fund the capital asset purchases such as laptops and hardware. We've heard that the laptops there was a provision made, but they were bought in the following year. Now, I want to know exactly what was the capital, or what was the total spent on capital asset purchases, such as laptops and those. And then why was this amount not initially budgeted for in the main appropriation, given that the figure is so high? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Bosman.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I just want to understand the employee around the CCMA case, the 402,000 that was spent there. What was the total cost of employment for the post per annum?
Okay. Thank you. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairperson. The last question by Honorable Bosman will be responded to by Ms. Prakasim, and the CFO will assist us with the NPO question from Honorable Lechen.
Thank you. CFO or Ms. Parkinson, you can continue, ma'am.
Chairperson, I don't have the annual remuneration immediately to hand. If you would allow me a few minutes, I will obtain the information and make it available to you.
Okay, we'll allow the CFO to go first while you are looking for the amount. Over to you, CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson. The non-profit institutions are the political parties. So the amount of 51 million is what we've provided for secretarial and constituency allowances. The 855 that we're taking away from that is as a result of specifically the constituency allowance, which we base on the same rate that National Parliament pays. So once they finalize their rate, they inform us and so forth. So then we had some to spare in the constituency allowance that we had provided for in this financial year. Just in terms of the capital assets and the laptop, so it was provided for in last year's budget, and we're bringing it into this year's budget. Therefore, it requires shifts and required to be brought into the budget. We had audited and confirmed with the suppliers, but based on what they were able to deliver and the timeframes, it then went over 2 financial years. And even though we had placed the order and we had the money in last year, we needed to supplement the budget this year because that delivery only came in this year, and we do have plans for further laptop or IT equipment purchases within the year. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ms. Prakasim, are you ready for us?
No, Chair, not yet.
Okay. While we wait a bit, remember, Lecker, I see your hand is still up.
It's a legacy hand, Chair. I'm waiting for a response, but maybe again on the issue of the 400 and odd, if we can maybe make a request, we get an explanation or maybe CCMA documents as to whether was this a settlement reached as a result of the department not having enough grounds, having failed to perform its due diligence, or what exactly? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, if I get to use the details of the CCMA case from the start to the end until the payment phase.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Member Bosman.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I was going to say Ms. Prakasim can also then provide that detail for us there. But maybe if I could just go back to something that the Secretary said around the total amount of posts allocated to the Office of the Speaker in terms of the presiding officer's manual. So if I heard correctly, the Secretary said there were 8 that's made provision for. Can we ask how many there is now since this OD exercise was done? And then if the committee can also be furnished with a copy of that organizational design or organizational development for the document itself, as well as the workforce review document that was mentioned earlier as well, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think also on the issue of the case, if there was any attorney fees, also they must be included in that report. So everything in its totality of the CCMA case, we will appreciate if you can get all the report of who was involved in the charge and the everything, every cost that was involved in that. We'll appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Parkinson is ready for us.
Thank you, Chair. So
over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. The annual remuneration of the employee is 742,820. Your last question around, just very quickly, attorney's fees, etc., there was none. This matter was reached at a conciliation stage, so there was nothing by way of attorney fees.
Thank you very much. So we will get the information then. Members? I don't see any hand that is raised, so I think that was
I still
all
need
questions.
a few questions, Chair. My apologies.
Okay. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Chair, allow me in page 26 under environments and shifting of funds, subprogram 2.3.1 on committee support. I think if we can all remember, one of the main criticism of the main appropriation in March, April this year was the fact that the vote hardly allocates any funding, in particular to committee support. For me, it's clear that continuously our complaints are falling into deaf ears. I would want to venture and support or suggest that one of the reasons why the current MEC for Finance appropriated over 10 million in this adjusted appropriation to this legislature was because the chief whip of the DA, the then chief whip, knew the plight of this committee in fighting for more funds for committee instead of half of that adjusted appropriation. But it is now falling into black pit called Program 1, and no additional funds have been allocated to committees in this adjusted budget. Now, I would want to then suggest that the committees are the engine room of this legislation. And 31,000 is simply carried over for anticipated travel cost, while 77,000 is taken from underspending in COEs to compensate staff accompanying us. And there's nothing towards ensuring more oversight visible. So I think we would really want to make serious or knock some sense that there should be more allocation made to committees to ensure that we do oversight. Because if we can't do oversight because there's not enough allocation of funds, then there's a problem. So the ANC would really want to make an appeal and see if there's going to be serious consideration taken into this regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Bosman.
Chairperson, I'm covered for now. If I could just get those documents and then an answer to my question around the amount of posts that are currently filled in the Office of the Speaker. If the provision in terms of the presiding officer manual is 8, and we've spent 402,000 just compensating one employee that, according to this document, left the establishment after she earned 742,000, or he earned 742,820 per annum. I'm trying to understand how effective was this organizational development strategy, and are we confident that going forward that office is fully capacitated to be able to execute what was identified in the organizational development exercise? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Secretary, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. So the OD exercise, well, firstly, as Honourable Bosman had indicated, the presiding officer's manual makes provision for a maximum of 8 posts to be provided for in the office of the Speaker. the OD exercise had recommended, and such a recommendation was accepted, that there only be 7 posts in the office of the Speaker, with all of the duties that were clarified in the relevant job descriptions of each of those 7 posts. Currently, as we sit here on Monday, the 28th of November, 2022, only 6 of those posts out of the 7 posts are filled. There is 1 vacancy that has not yet been filled. The vacancy had come about quite recently. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Is all the questions answered, Member Lecker? Are your questions answered? Member Lecker?
Chairperson.
Okay.
On mute.
Okay.
Chairperson, while
Yes, Member
Lecker is still unmuting, if I could maybe then just ask if the Secretary could respond to the last part of my question on whether we are confident that the Office of the Speaker is fully capacitated with these 7 posts that I've identified, or are we expecting another organizational design activity in this with the next budget, for instance?
Okay, Member Lecker, before
Thank you,
Secretary
Chair.
coming, is your
Thank you,
questions
Chair.
answered, all of them?
No, Chair, I actually wanted the Secretary to speak to the issue of funding for committees, which I didn't hear a precise response to that one in terms of the budget allocation.
Okay, thank you very much. Secretary?
Chairperson, just Honourable Bosman's question first. Based on the job descriptions for those 7 posts, which have been developed in consultation with the input from the Office of the Speaker, I am confident that if nothing changes with regards to what needs to be delivered in the Office of the Speaker, that those 7 posts with their job descriptions would be able to deliver on what is expected in the Office of the Speaker. In terms of Honourable Lekker's question on committees, Chairperson, I thought it was just a comment where Honourable Lekker had asked whether we can indicate that we'll have a look at the budget of committees. Chairperson, I think the process that we've embarked upon quite recently in terms of trying to get to understand how committees and what committees are expecting to do in a specific financial year, putting that in a plan then for the committees, costing that plan. I think those are the exercises that will assist us in terms of providing funding for committees. It would also assist us as the institution with the executive authorities engagement with the Minister of Finance, those periodic engagements to then put those plans on the table to indicate to Provincial Treasury, these are the plans for committees, and that where and when additional funding is needed, required as per those plans specifically. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I think that was the last bite of the questions, members. I just want to thank, I think maybe the last remark from the Secretary first. Is there any last word you want to?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, maybe just to. Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Maybe just thank you to all of the colleagues in the administration, the senior management team, the political leadership for their guidance and assistance, and to the committee for these type of engagements that enriches the process and the administration's thinking in terms of budgeting for the work of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Okay, still on mute. I'm going to thank the members for their engagement. It's been a long day and we managed to do what is expected as we do our oversight role. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Chair, I just want to wish everyone a safe festive season. I know we will be seeing each other in Parliament, but thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you to the administration for all the work they've done to get to this point. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. And also from my side, be safe and try to spend time with your family. And we really appreciate all the work that you are doing in this institution. It's not easy sometimes, but we do acknowledge everything that you are doing, and we salute you all the time. So with those few words, I can say that you can leave the meeting and allow the members to continue with our business.
Thank you,
You got me
Chairperson.
there.
Thank you very
Otherwise,
much,
it's
Chair.
off the
Thank you,
meeting.
members.
Chair.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Members, let's continue with our, let me get my, okay. We have deliberated on the budget vote. And I still see Mr. Madoda is still with us. In deliberation of the vote to Western Cape Provincial Parliament in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B3 2022. I'm just going to put in front that the committee, the Parliamentary Oversight Committee report that it has concluded its deliberation on vote to Western Cape Provincial Parliament in the schedule of the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B3 2022 dated the 28th November 2022. The Parliamentary Oversight Committee report that it has concluded its deliberation on vote to Western Cape Provincial Parliament in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B3 2022 referred to the committee in accordance with the Standing Rule 188 and report that it supports, or it does not support the vote. I present that to you, members. I recognize Member Bosman and Member Lecker after.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to propose that this committee supports the vote.
Thank you very much, Member Lecker.
Thank you, Chair. And the ANC would like to note our minority view not to support the budget in line with Rule 90 because it does not prioritize the constitutional work carried out by committees and ignores committees and the work that they do.
Thank you very much, Member. Okay. Thank you. So it's going to be this way. That our report is going to be that the Parliamentary Oversight Committee report that it has concluded its deliberation on vote to Western Cape Provincial Parliament in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B3 2022 referred to the committee in accordance with Standing Rule 188 and report that it supports the vote with the minority view in terms of Standing Rule 90, that it expressed its minority view that they do not support the deliberated vote of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Can we adopt our report?
We can.
Yes,
Member
Chair.
Gillian
Yes,
Bosman?
Chairperson. I propose
With
that we
those
adopt the report.
Member Lecker?
Yes, Chair, as it is with no other amendments.
Thank you very much. Your minority view is recorded, honorable member. With that being said, members, thank you very much. Support staff, thank you. And any other person that has supported us to be here, appreciate. Oh, we do have the report, the annual report that we have to look at. I'm sorry, honorable members.
The resolutions, we have not taken.
Yeah,
any
before the
resolutions.
resolutions, can we do the consideration and the adoption of the committee report
No
on
problem.
the annual report? I think we, so Member Gillian?
Chairperson, can I propose that we adopt the report of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on the annual report of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament for the year ending March 31, 2022, as read, because we did get the report delivered to us.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Member Plato, Member
I
Petleke.
support that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Member Plato. And the resolutions, Member Lecker? I
Yes, Chair.
recognize you.
A detailed report on the CCMA matter and
Yes.
a report on the, is it functional enhancement? We would really like to get a report on that one. I don't want to see us or the taxpayers' money used to pay a bloated office going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Did we get the breakdown of the UK that was not budgeted for? Member Bosman?
But what do you mean it was not budgeted for?
Chairperson.
It was
may I-
presented in one of the POC committees, Chair.
It
That's
was
not true.
Okay.
Adjustments, Member
Okay.
Lecker, the chair is referring to the adjustments, I think, the money that we
I
adjusted.
know. You gave me a shock there.
Chair, just
Yes.
on the resolutions, if we can get the organizational development exercise on the reorganization of the Office of the Speaker, as well as the workforce review document that the CFO, the HOD, and the Mr. Adams was talking about. And then also, Chair, if we can get a comparative document with the cost of all international trips undertaken by the legislature in the last year, just so we can understand sort of why they had to pay money for one trip in this adjustment. That will be very helpful, Chair. And then I want to ask if I could be excused to join my community safety meeting, please, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think that is the last of the resolutions. If there's no any other resolution, thank you very much. Wasima and Lizette, Siraj, Yanis is still here. Says thank you very much. Petlager. Chief
Hello.
of Opposition, you are appreciated. Thank
I
you
have
very
my
much.
name.
And Member Bosman. With that being said, thank you, members. You are appreciated, and the meeting is adjourned. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chairperson and colleagues. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, members.